Welcome back to Cheddar's Opening Bell. Two New Yorkers are making history, becoming the first openly gay black men elected to Congress. Representative-elect Ritchie Torres is putting COVID-19 recovery on his agenda and calling last night's victory a new era for the South Bronx. Joining us now is Ritchie Torres, future congressman. Congratulations. Thank you so much for coming on. What do you mean by that it's a new era for the South Bronx?
Yeah, so I am succeeding Congressman Jose Serrano, who has served the Bronx for 40 years. When he entered Congress in 1990, I was only 2 years old. And so yesterday's election in 2020 represents a passing of the torch. And I'm grateful to the voters of the South Bronx for giving me the high honor of representing the next generation of leadership. And the leaders we're electing are every bit as diverse and dynamic as America itself.
The squad, AOC, and others reelected as well last night. What do you think that this says about Congress? Is it becoming more diverse and inclusive?
Without question, I'm about to join the most diverse legislative conference in the history of the United States. More than 60% of the House Democratic Conference are women, people of color, LGBTQ. So the Democratic Party and Congress are increasingly becoming a miniaturization of America, of a multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy. And that's a beautiful thing.
What does that mean in terms of policy?
Policy is personal. Empathy can only take you so far. There's no substitute for firsthand experience. And the greatest asset that I bring to public life is the wisdom of lived experience. I don't come from a political family. I don't come from privilege. I don't have fancy degrees, but I know what it's like to grow up in poverty. I know what it's like to live in molded and leaking conditions in public housing. I know what it's like to struggle with depression. And those lived experiences not only inform who I am, but are going to motivate much of what I do in Washington, D.C.
So what is your priority?
Yeah, so my highest priority is to support American families in the South Bronx. We have to put people back to work. We have to put income in the pockets of struggling families because the road to recovery for our country will run through our families. It's their spending that will have the greatest impact in reviving the economy. So we need to expand the child tax credit, the earned income tax credit, provide hazard pay for our essential workers. The South Bronx was the epicenter of COVID-19. And the South Bronx historically has been known to be the poorest congressional district in America, but COVID-19 has shown the South Bronx to be the essential congressional district. It's the home of the essential workers who put their lives on the line so that most of us could safely shelter in place. And we owe it to those workers to create a society that pays them and treats them with dignity and respect.
What do you think needs to be done on the federal level in the fight against COVID?
Well, first, we need to build an infrastructure that's capable of developing a vaccine, that's capable of administering testing and contact tracing. We need a federal mandate for masks. We need a domestic capacity to manufacture critical supplies so that we're not at the mercy of a global supply chain. And economically, we need to stabilize our local and state governments. There's never been a point in the history of our country where New York State government and New York City government and the public transit system were all caught in a fiscal debt spiral. The federal government needs to provide emergency funding to stabilize our local and state governments, which are on the front lines of providing critical services.
Turning to just the presidential election, we're still waiting for results, but it's clear that it's a lot closer than a lot of the polls had predicted. Yeah. This blue wave that had predicted not happening, it's looking like the Senate is going to stay in Republican hands. What do you make of that? What does that tell you about the state of politics right now in this country?
We are a deeply divided country. I remain optimistic that Biden is going to win the presidency. There are millions of absentee votes, of mail-in votes that have yet to be counted in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. and those votes are overwhelmingly expected to favor Joe Biden. And compared to 2016, Joe Biden has improved Democratic performance. He made Arizona a blue state. He's the first Democrat to do so since 1996. He has made Nebraska a purple state. Having said that, I'm not so optimistic about the Senate. The Democrats are unlikely to win a majority in the Senate, and we're unlikely to expand our majority in the House. In fact, we've lost a number of seats. So the results are disappointing.
Well, congratulations to you, because your results,
Yes.
at least good news on your end. Representative-elect Ritchie Torres, great to have you on what was, I'm sure, a very late night. Thank you.